Welcome to RotoWire Fantasy Football Live. It's Friday. The NFL season has started. Life is good. Remember, we'll be running the show 5 days a week during the regular season. We'll be off on Wednesdays and Thursdays. During the Friday show today and Saturday, we'll have a mixture of NFL getting ready for fantasy, for DFS gambling. Sunday, the Start Sit Show, where we give you the why, not just the what, give you detailed ideas to help you make your best decisions. Do not miss these shows every day, 11 a.m. Eastern. All right, let's start off. Hey, Lions and Chiefs, opening night. We had it. The Lions came out with the win. Jared Goff throws one touchdown pass. Remember last year, he only threw 6 touchdown passes in road games. Now, 3 of those came, I think, week 16 against the Panthers, but Goff hadn't thrown many touchdowns on the road. Overall, he got that touchdown on the second drive after the fake punt, and they were able to keep, that was his one touchdown. So overall, fair enough game for Jared Goff. But those that were expecting more, Cigar, go back, welcome in, man. And so anyway, Goff, it was what we expected numbers wise. Like if you expected more, didn't happen. But the game was conservative and close, like we talked about. Those who had read my thread on Twitter at Jim Coventry NFL, if you want to follow those threads, this game with Chris Jones out was going to be about David Montgomery, because Chris Jones was the linchpin to their run defense. We think of him as a great pass rusher, way more than that. He allows the linebackers to roam free a bit too. So Montgomery, a lot of late work closing it out, but he out carries Gibbs 21-7, but the yardage was a little bit closer. Montgomery gets 74 yards. It's the same guy we know, not a big yardage guy. He does cash in on that short touchdown. Yeah, yep, Cigar, yep, you were on it with Sauger. I'm sorry, I'm screwing up. Sauger. It's been a while, but yeah, Montgomery, we cash in on that prop. They're very nice. Gibbs, 2 catches, 18 yards. He does put up 6 yards per carry. We saw it, the explosive speed to the outside. It's what we expected, but I never thought this game was going to be a Gibbs game, because I thought it was going to be controlled a little more on the ground, short passing game. And again, with Gibbs, he's part of the short passing attack. St. Brown's there and Sam Laporte is there. So that's going to be the quagmire. These middle of the field guys, how much work are they going to be able to split? Because St. Brown's getting the lion's share of the work. We already know that. It's going to be hard to see how the other guys fit in. Gibbs is going to be fine. Don't sweat it. He'll be fine for fantasy. They'll figure out, because he's very explosive. We saw that very quickly. But Montgomery had a 79% snap share, 27% for Gibbs. So they're both around the field for some snaps together. But understand, Montgomery, 79. Charlene's in the house. All right. And but 79% snaps for Montgomery. That is going to be a situation. He is going to be a fantasy factor as a flex this year, at least when he finds the end zone like he did yesterday. It's even better than that. Obviously, the Lions receiving game, like we said, St. Brown, he got over 25% of the targets, and that's what you're going to have. There are no outside receivers commanding targets, so St. Brown's going to continue to do great. And it wasn't a shootout game, so they didn't have to throw more than they may have otherwise if the Chiefs were really on point offensively. But St. Brown cashes in, gets most of his damage early, but he was fantastic. He was making some very good route adjustments. What we've seen from him for a couple of years. No need to rehash that. Now, here was the thing, and I didn't get to talk about this one enough, and I wish I had. Those in deep leagues, Josh Reynolds, I had him boosted way up in my rankings. Josh Reynolds, while Jameson Williams out, he is their clear number 2 receiver. He was last night. He is last year. We saw it. There was times when he was needed and they went to him. And remember, Jared Goff, has good familiarity with him over time. And it was one longer play that got him there, but 4 catches for 80 yards, but 7 targets for Reynolds. So again, if you're in a deep league and you're kind of stuck with maybe 3 flexes, Reynolds could be viable based on matchup, but he's going to be the outside receiver. Now, Marvin Jones did get 6 targets as well, but we saw it. I mean, I don't know how the Lions don't figure this out. He's been done. And last year, like even with Trevor Lawrence, he was done. And yet he gets 6 targets, catches 2 for 8, fumbles the ball away. Khalif Raymond got his 1 catch for 20 yards. It was later. I wonder if Raymond was on the field because they were frustrated with Jones. I don't know, but I would have to think Raymond is a better downfield threat at this stage of his career than Marvin Jones, who was a wonderful player in his time. And then finally, the tight end, Sam Laporta. So It wasn't big yardage, but it was 8 yards a catch, 5 for 39, caught all 5 targets. He played 83% of the snaps. No shock to any of us. Brock Wright still caught a couple passes, but as we expected, Laporta's the guy, and a very good opener for him. Now, on the Chiefs side of the ball, Mahomes is awesome. His numbers weren't. He was awesome. Dropped passes all over the field. The pick six, Kadarius Toney, that was a catch and run that was moving the chains, turns into 6 points the other way. Mahomes was just completely let down by his receivers many times. There was a 3rd and long where he threw a great pass over 2 defenders. The receiver had a mistimed jump, didn't make the catch. Mahomes throws 2 touchdowns, runs for 45 yards. But Patrick Mahomes, this is no knock on him. And for fantasy, the 45 rushing yards still helps him get it done. Now in the backfield, remember Isaiah Pacheco went out briefly. He got lit up by a linebacker, but he plays 48% of the snaps. So that may have been a little bit higher had he not missed a little time, but he still leads the backfield with 8 carries, less than 3 yards per carry. But here he had 4 targets and caught them all. That was good because to see him get a little more work in the passing game, even though, he ends up with 54 total yards, he ends up with 9 fantasy points. You can't argue with 9. It's not the best, but where you drafted him, Charlene, the Lions should have lost. Casey gave, yeah, they did. I love it, Charlene. They should have given DeAndre Hopkins some. You're right. They brought DeAndre Hopkins in. We would be talking a different result this morning for sure. Now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was involved, 8 rushes himself. Again, a couple of those may have been because Pacheco briefly left the game, so understand that. McKinnon, 1 catch, 31% of the snaps. So a beat reporter mentioned this, and I buy into it, that Jerick McKinnon will see his receiving usage go up as the year goes on. And they got to keep him fresh for the playoffs. So I believe that beat writer and that, he'll get opportunities when they need him, if they're ever trailing. If they're in a hurry up, they'll get him in. But they're not going to overextend the 31-year-old. And then the receivers, look, it was a bunch of everybody. Now, snap-wise, Sky Moore leads with 69% and Valdez-Scantling with 63%. But Sky Moore did nothing. He had a rushing attempt for 4 yards, didn't catch his 3 targets. 1 or 2 he should have caught. MVS did okay, caught both of them for 48 yards. But the other receivers, it was like a big mishmash. All between like 25 and 35%. We had Richie James, Rashee Rice, Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney. So it was just all over the board. But that group actually got more targets than the Sky Moore and the Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who played more. But the targets were all kind of jumbled in together. So for fantasy, this is going to be a real tough one to navigate week to week. Obviously, when Kelsey comes back, which hopefully is very, very soon, hopefully week 2, it makes it easier for everybody else. And Charlene brings up a good point. What happened to Rice in the second half? He did have the hot hand. And yeah, I just, it was one of those weird games, Charlene. I just wonder what Andy Reid just didn't get in the flow. And that's weird. Normally, time to size up an opponent. They were missing one of their top 3 corners. Their other 2 corners were new to the team. But again, Mahomes had it going on. But Kadarius Toney killed them, other receivers. But you're right. Rashee Rice did look good. Maybe it was a pre-planned thing, but you're right. Coaching means adjustment. All right. So now I want to point this out too. It's off the game now. RotoWire is hosting the Survivor and Pick'em season-long contest on what we call Splash Sports. In the Pick'em, I had to take a few underdogs. I can't really go with the chalk. So this week, here's a few underdogs I'm looking at. This is I'm going with the Steelers. They're getting a couple points against 49ers. Going with the Browns. The defense is overhauled. I'm worried there'll be some transition. Joe Burrow missed some practice time, over the summer. Maybe it's just a little slow start, divisional game. And I'm going to go with the Bucs over the Vikings. Vikings have a good offense, but that defense is problematic. So those, and then the Survivor on the Splash Sports. I'm definitely doing the Survivor. You pick that one team a week that's going to win. I'm going chalk there. It's week 1. I've got to go with the Ravens. First of all, Titus Howard, the right tackle on IR. Kenyon Green, the left guard on IR, Juice Scruggs, the center on IR, the other center, David Questenberry out. That's enough for me. the Ravens are going to be just fine here. So I'm going to go with that. But really, I paid an entry fee of $10 on Splash Sports. The total prize pool is up to $4,500. So if you want in on the fun, go to rotowire.com /splash for more details. All right, let's talk about Sunday's games a little bit. We're going to have Adam Thompson from bookies.com coming in at the bottom of the hour. He's an ace gambler. He is one of the best in the business. Now, Rams and Seahawks. So you have fantasy players in these games. Maybe you're betting on the game. Maybe you're betting props. Here's what I'm expecting in this game. So first of all, the Seahawks are at home. The one thing that's important in week one is continuity. For the most part, Shane Waldron got his offense back. They're going to try to pick up where they left off. They've added pieces. JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, is expected to play. He's an addition, but it's not like they weren't successful without him last year. They bring in Zach Charbonnet. It's only going to enhance them. The two rookie linemen, Charles Cross and Abe Lucas, they're in their second year. Maybe they get a little bump here. The Seahawks have continuity. The Rams, on the other hand, defensively, now it's Aaron Donald and a whole bunch of who's. They are going to have a big transition in addition to a lack of talent outside of Donald. So the Seahawks are very well equipped to handle this however they want offensively, and they should have success. So to me, though, Pete Carroll knows this is an opponent they can handle. Cooper Kupp is out, and defensively, Seahawks may not be great, but they can handle what the Rams have left. And so I expect Pete Carroll to go a little run heavy in this one. I think he's going to trust his defense. He's got Tariq Woolen at corner. You got the rookie Devon Witherspoon. They're going to be able to hopefully play man up on the outside, probably go away from the zone here, and they're probably just going to condense the middle and really take away what the Rams want to do here. So I think this is one of those games going to be slower paced. Seahawks are going to have a lot more success on the ground. I don't think there's a lot of passing volume. So don't expect monster games from DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett. Now, at any time, one of those can get free over the top for a long touchdown. That's always in play. But these look like more like they're middling games where they're going to be okay. They'll get you, double-digit fantasy points, but I don't think anything. But I think the Seahawks slow this one down. I think they're able to kind of bleed out the Rams quite a bit. Cam Akers should get some volume. Probably some passes out of the backfield. We'll see a little of that. Kyron Williams might mix into. They'll try what they can with Akers. They probably are going to have a new run scheme this year. McVay did do that before they went real pass heavy a couple of years ago, but that'll be the way to go. And now Sauger brings up, we got Kenneth Walker at 63.5 rushing yards. He popped up on the injury report as questionable. And I'm a little nervous about that because if he is not 100% and if the Rams are in control, if the Seahawks are in control of this game, they're not going to have to ride him. Now, Ken Walker's a boom bust runner. He does get big runs. So he's the guy who can get you a 35, 40-yard run. But at less than 100%, Pete Carroll might say, you know what? Zach Charbonnet, you're going to get a heavier workload this week. I think Zach Charbonnet is going to be a big part of this too. So, Sauger, if you see the Zach Charbonnet number, pop that up on there as well, because I'm inclined to look at the Zach Charbonnet. He may be the closer back. Because remember, I said Kenneth Walker's boom bust. A lot of zeros and ones and twos. Then he breaks out to 15 or 18. That doesn't move the chains. I think they're expecting Charbonnet to be the chain mover and Walker heavily involved, but a little more of that dynamic runner. And, moving over now another game. Obviously, the Ravens had that new look offense. You got Todd Monken calling the shots, and now we got a 3-receiver offense we're looking at, and they're playing the Texans. And the Texans bringing D'Amico Ryan's their coach, but it's going to take a while. They're learning new defensive principles. I talk about that continuity. Well, both teams don't have continuity. The Ravens are going with the new offense. The Texans are going with the new defense. But here's the thing. The talent on the Ravens against the talent on the Texans. Now, the Texans have been good against the pass. And they're Stingley. Stingley, the corner, he didn't play well last year, but he did profile well coming out of college. And it was one of those years he dealt with some nicks and bruises, we'll say. And I think he could make a jump this year, but against 3 receivers, good luck. But I think this is the J.K. Dobbins game. Even if they go 3 receiver sets, the Texans are going to have to respect that. They're going to have to play that. And The Texans, I know they keep revamping the roster and they bring people in, but I don't expect them to have big success against the run. J.K. Dobbins comes out the gate hot here. He is going to, I expect him to crack 115 rushing yards in this game. And he could do that on as little as 15 to 17 attempts. This is going to be a game for Dobbins. Dobbins is a superstar. He's been running against stack box during his career. But for the Texans, any under you can find, take. I already mentioned it. Right tackle Titus Howard, IR. Both centers, Juice Scruggs, David Questenberry, out, IR, I believe. Left guard, Kenyon Green, who wasn't good last year, but he's on IR. This line is in major, major trouble. And the Ravens may not have great individual pass rushers, but no, they are going to scheme up pressure because they know that the Texans are wounded on the line, and they're going to make it really, really difficult for C.J. Stroud in his first NFL start. Hey, if you're enjoying the show, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons if you're on RotoWire YouTube. And it'd be awesome if you gave me a follow on Twitter at Jim Coventry NFL. During the regular season, I'll continue to post threads, including player trends, prop bets, get you set up for the season. So next one, Brock Purdy, no number on Zach Charbonnet. That may come out late afternoon. Thanks, Auger. That may come out later this afternoon. But I think the yardage prop for Charbonnet is probably going to be somewhere in the 40-ish yard range. And I would assume he comes out of this game with 50 because they are going to, again, use him probably in clock killing mode. I do expect the Rams to be a little bit of a mess. So I think that would be the eventual play. There will be a number eventually out in him. I hope there better be. All right. Brock Purdy is next. So Brock Purdy, hey, every game he started and finished, he won. He had multiple touchdowns, and I believe all but one game in the regular season. Every game, the multiple touchdowns, every regular season game. The playoffs, he had a game where I think he had one. That may have been a game where they were a blowout win, so they didn't need him to throw. Now, here's the thing, though. As I watched the film, I noticed that Brock Purdy was starting to get exposed a little bit, but he kept getting away with it. 49ers are a great team around him, right? When you push him to his left, he struggles. He was starting to throw some footballs behind his receivers. That was a little bit troubling. Pittsburgh is going to give him some trouble here. Pittsburgh has the tape. Pittsburgh has the outside linebacker. You have Highsmith and you have TJ Watt. They are going to cause some trouble for Brock Purdy. And the 49ers line, look, you know what? I know they got Trent Williams at left tackle, and he's a god. But the rest of the line, there's some transition there. Brunskill's gone. McGlinchey's gone. And George Kittle, I don't know if he's 100% or not. He had a groin issue. Pittsburgh's in Pittsburgh here. And Minka Fitzpatrick at safety, they're going to be able to create, some speed to throw at the scheme up. Now, the player I like in this game, even if Purdy struggles, this is kind of a Deebo Samuel game because in this game, they're going to need to get really those quick hitters. And McCaffrey always does fine. I'm never worried about McCaffrey. So we never throw shit at McCaffrey. He can win against anybody. But of the receivers, to me, it's a Deebo Samuel game because he is going to run a lot of these drag routes. We saw it back when Shanahan, when they were playing those good Rams defenses a few years ago. He really used those drag routes, getting him into space very quickly. And Debo's a monster after the catch. I think this is the game where Debo has a couple of really big gains on those. So Debo's in for the big game here. But I am concerned for Brock Purdy. Again, he's got the run yards after the catch guys. But the game, he might look a little bit ugly here. And I think Pittsburgh's going to pull the upset here. Pittsburgh's got a tough game too. Fortunately, they're at home here. Kenny Pickett did show some signs of emerging in the second half. The numbers didn't really support it, but he definitely showed some ability. Charlene, you are so on Calvin Austin. You love that sub 4.3 speed. I think it's like 4.25. Oh my God, is he fast? I think he starts the year as their number 4, Charlene. I hope I'm wrong, but I think Allen Robinson, they're going to trust him in the slot. But when Calvin Austin gets on the field, yes, I love to see the shot plays because if they get him going, oh my gosh, because right defense, what are they going to worry about? You got George Pickens, you got Deontay Johnson, you got Pat Freiermuth, and Calvin Austin could be sneaking under the radar here. And so he could be a real nice situational player for them. Hopefully, well, again, I don't ever want to sell Allen Robinson short. I know he probably done, but I love Allen Robinson and I hope he has a good season. But man, if Calvin Austin gets in there, what an infusion of speed to the offense. Love that, Charlene. All right. So Pittsburgh overall, there's a tough matchup for them. And I really have the big downgrade is Pat Freiermuth because San Francisco, they will be able to probably put Fred Warner on him a lot. There are games when they play a good tight end, they need Fred Warner to do a lot of stuff. I think they realized that Pat Freiermuth was a big part of what Kenny Pickett wanted to do last year. And so I do think that Fred Warner will see him a lot. And I am very much downgrading Pat Freiermuth on that. Fred Warner is a beast. Yes, I'm looking at that one. So Fred Warner, just, circle that one. But I think the receiver for Pittsburgh here, I think this is the Deontay Johnson game, because I think that Charvarius Ward is going to be on George Pickens. Pickens can win against anybody, but Charvarius Ward is very good at getting physical. And I think he could slow up Pickens at the line of scrimmage off the release point. And I think if it screws the timing up a bit, I think Kenny Pickens will have a little bit of a problem with that. I think Deontay Johnson, though, almost like, not comparing him to Deebo Samuel at all, but the role in this game, I think it's a similar role. I think against the 49ers, Diamador Lenoir, I think that we're going to see a lot of underneath for Deontay Johnson. And I think he's going to pile up that way. That's going to be exact success. Najee Harris is kind of a rough matchup for him. I'm not excited about that, but they're at home. He'll get usage. The 49ers are going to have to respect the passing game. Nick Bosa, he did sign the contract, but maybe he's not 100%. And, if he's not, they might spot his snaps, because he's an impact not only when he's rushing the passer, but just the attention that he draws. So if he has to play a limited snap share, you're not benching Najee, because Najee could score a touchdown. He could cash in at a few catches. So those are just things to think about. And then the Jaguars. The Jaguars are going to Indy. And you'll probably hear from Adam Thompson, and I never argue with Adam. Adam is the man. And he talks about Trevor Lawrence's inefficiencies in domes in his first couple of years, and it's true. But so the thing is, you get Calvin Ridley. Now, Ridley may be a lot of things to a lot of people, but what I'm really expecting, it's not the downfield shots. It's the digs, the in routes. It's the corner out routes. He runs those precisely. And Trevor Lawrence, those throws, he's pristine. He just didn't have a receiver to utilize those. And remember, Indy, their top two corners last year, Stephon Gilmore, Isaiah Rodgers, they're not with the team. They're going with a second-round rookie, Juju Brents. Dallas Flowers, a special teamer. Kenny Moore's a tiny dude, like 5'9". This Trevor Lawrence, and here's the other thing. DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart on the interior for the Colts. It's not easy to run on them. And I don't know that Doug Peterson's going to come in and say, you know what, let's run the ball. And he'll get taught right away. You probably aren't going to do that. ETN struggled against them last year. And I just think you don't go there. I think you throw the ball. I think they come out, throw. And now they might get a big lead and they might sit on it later. But I think Lawrence is going to have his numbers early in this game. And because how are they going to stop him? Again, they don't have any corner to deal with Ridley. Middle of the field, they really learned how to use Evan Ingram to use his speed horizontally, because he can outrun the linebackers. And then we have Christian Kirk, and he multifaceted, mainly slot, but he could do a lot of damage. So I think they're really gonna mess up Indy. Indy doesn't have a very good pass rush, and the dude went to Bobby Okereke. So Bobby Okereke is not with them. He's in New York now with the Giants, and that was part of their pass rush. Kwity Paye is coming on, but not really going to be a problem, because the Jags are without their top two tackles. They're Jawan Taylor's with Kansas City, and then left tackle Cam Robinson, I believe, suspended. But I still think there's enough in that passing. I mean, they're going to get out quick. So I don't think the offensive line's an issue. Hey, make sure you're catching this show, the RotoWire Fantasy Football Live Show, 5 days a week, 11 a.m. Eastern. Remember, off Wednesdays and Thursdays during the regular season. Sundays, please join me for the Start Sit live stream. You can ask me any questions about starting and sitting. You can ask me questions about prop betting. I will give you the why. Well, I do that most of it, but on Sunday specifically, we have all the injury information, and so we have all that going. So we are very excited about the Start Sit stream. But please join me for that. Usually it'll go about an hour and 15 minutes, and then I got to eat some lunch usually to try to get ready for the big NFL games. Another 6 hours in front of the TV. All right. So Eric Bienemy is at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Eric Bienemy, great coach, offensive coordinator, took a lateral move, had to get out of the Andy Reid shadow, because it was really important, because he wasn't getting a head coach job at that point, unfortunately. Right. But this is his chance. He has the opportunity now to show everybody, you fools, you passed up on me. I could be a great coach, and you're going to learn from day one when I'm with the Commanders that I am. So he has every reason, Eric Bienemy, to unleash this offense, make it his, and I believe that is exactly what we're going to see. So When you go into Arizona defensively, they literally have nothing left. They're not going to be rushing the passer much. They really can't cover. It's just do what you want. Now, they could get a big lead in this game, and so not quite sure how they go to attack. And look, I know a lot of people from last year, Brian Robinson's their lead back. I get it. Eric Bienemy is not going to be excited about this 3 yards, 4 yards, and just he had 2 20-yard runs on 200 carries. And I know the poor man got shot preseason, but as a prospect before then, I know Mario Puig, my RotoWire teammate, and myself thought he's not an explosive runner at all. Eric Bienemy needs explosiveness. And remember that preseason game when they were playing the starters, Gibson split carries with Robinson. I think Gibson is a much bigger factor than anybody thinks in early downs because Eric Bienemy, again, for him to reach his offensive ceiling, he needs Antonio Gibson to be a part of that. And, of course, as a receiver, Gibson will be there. So I think that, but Sam Howell, we don't know what we have. But I do think I think that Antonio Gibson's in a really nice spot here. I am a little worried about the turf toe with Terry McLaurin. We're not getting any, resolution as to what really is going on here. But that said, Jahan Dotson could see extra targets early on, and certainly he's a player that can win contested catches, and he could be a quick favorite for Sam Howell. But it'd be exciting to watch that. If you want 2 days of free access to RotoWire, no credit card needed. Just go to rotowire.com/Jim. Get you set up there, get ready for your season start, and hopefully you like what you see over there. All right, we got Adam Thompson coming in a few minutes. We got a couple more things we could talk about here. The Chargers play the Miami Dolphins in what should be a really, really fun week 1 matchup. Remember the Sunday night game last year. I'm telling you, the coaching staff of the Chargers understood how to attack the Dolphins. And what happened was they were getting handsy with them at the line. And Jalen Waddle, there was a release time. Off the line, they were getting on him, breaking the timing up. Tua, once the timing goes off, he was screwed. And they also were flooding the middle of the field, making Tua win to the outside. They also were playing the receiver in such a way where they were playing an inside underneath leverage on the receivers. Tua would have to feather the ball in. That's not his game. Tua struggles to feather the ball in. And we saw like 4 passes. Oh my God, he can't do this. Does Mike McDaniel have a counterpunch? Maybe, but does Tua have a counterpunch? Jalen Waddle, you're starting him for fantasy. I don't remember his number. It was like 2 for 20, maybe somewhere in that range last year. That was not an anomaly. It's a troublesome matchup. Jalen Waddle, just don't expect great things. Could he break a 80-yard touchdown? Yes, he's Jalen Waddle. He has incredible speed. Probability says not his banner week. So in DFS, yeah, maybe not so much. Tyreek Hill had a big play in that game. He ends up with 4 for 80-ish, maybe 81 and a touchdown. So he did enough to get by. But I tell you what, the Chargers had their number, and the Chargers are healthy on defense. And so that'll be interesting to see. Charlene tells us that Terry McLaurin had a full practice. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful he's okay. You're starting him for fantasy. If he's on the field, you're starting him. Terry McLaurin is, he's like your 1,000-yard receiver. And he doesn't have many floor games. I'm still worried about limitations with the toe, but at least he has Jahan Dotson. So at least defense have other people to worry about. I don't, defense aren't going to completely sell out to stop McLaurin, which is good. I think that's a benefit to him. So you're starting McLaurin. I just really want to see how he comes out and he looks. But yeah, absolutely, Charlene. So in the other one, Davante Adams. Davante Adams is going to be up against Patrick Surtain. That's a tough matchup. Jimmy Garoppolo. He used to play with 21 personnel in San Francisco, 2 running backs in the field, always protected. Let's see. Sauger, you got Jalen Waddle at 65.5 receiving yards. I'm going to say under on that. He won't get to 20 last year, but they're going to disrupt his timing. That's going to be a problem. Tyreek Hill not touching it. Tyreek Hill needs 1 touch, and 1 touch could mean 90 yards and a touchdown. But Davante Adams has a couple things working against him. Patrick Surtain's one. The other thing is, I believe that Sean Payton wants to run the heck out of the football this year. They brought in Adam Troutman and Chris Manhertz at tight end. They bring in Mike McGlinchey and Ben Powers for the line. They're not going to make this a Russell Wilson team. It's going to be a run-based team. They're going to slow these games down. And so Davante Adams will also have, less opportunity. And Jimmy G, again, playing in 11 personnel, not so good. That interior line is a mess. So I'm looking for that matchup. Oh, I'm so excited to have Adam Thompson, my bookies.com friend, my gambling.com teammate. Got to work with you last year. It was always exciting times. He is the ATM, substance over style odds maker and handicapper at bookies.com. Everybody, Adam, from 2019 to 2022. It's between 62 and 64% NFL. What is it, 52.5% to win money or something like that? Adam is 10% over that. If you are not following him, he's at Bookies Adam, you're making a foolish mistake. And Adam, if I'm correct, that your work on Bookies is free, right?
Everything's free. Yeah. Bookies.com/picks is where all my picks go. And we do content, we do stories that break it down a little more, even more than that. But it's a good bookmark to start on the site and Twitter. I tried. I'm not as exciting as you on Twitter. But I try to provide links and the occasional insight on there as well.
Adam, I got a little bit of flash going, but you got a whole lot of substance, and everybody wants a substance. That's what we're about, man. So let's get right into it. So first of all, very excited to see Trevor Lawrence come out and hopefully after somewhat breakout season last year. Loving to see Anthony Richardson out there in his first NFL start. Not excited that Jonathan Taylor isn't going to be around for a while. Tell us how you handicap this game.
Yeah, that's a tough one because, without Taylor, that was kind of their anchor. That was going to really help Richardson kind of develop. He wasn't going to have to put everything on his shoulders. Now we don't even know who's going to run the ball, for the Colts. Now what the Colts do have is kind of an element of surprise, right? Richardson's never thrown a pass. He's a unique skill set. He's not just going to step back and look for guys. He's maybe the most athletic quarterback. A lot of people think he's the most athletic quarterback in the history of the league.
Yep.
To come in and you have an offensive guru type coach getting his first crack at being in this position. And I think in the trenches the Colts have some advantages there. But you look at the skill set of the Colts, this looks like a team that may not score more than about 13 points a game. At least until Taylor comes back. But we'll see. The receiving core isn't bad. I think they do have advantages, like I said, over these Jaguars. I'm not necessarily all in on the Colts. I think the under is the way to go. I think Trevor Lawrence, this is this is the season that they're expected to take that next step. And we saw it kind of at the end of last year until the very end of last year when they completely collapsed in historic fashion in the playoffs. But I think this is their opportunity. They can't lose to teams like the Colts, but Trevor Lawrence in domes, historically terrible. Only once, actually never in his career. It is his very first game as a pro. He played in a dome and actually did very well. Since that first game, he's thrown for under 175 yards in every time he's been in a dome. So I don't know what the deal is, but I think the Colts can at least hang here. So the points, if you want to take a side of the spread, I lean towards Indy, hanging on at home, new environment, a lot of air of kind of uncertainty on their side. But I like the under more because I don't think the Colts are going to be able to score very much. I think the Jaguars are going to score more, but I think the total is just too high for this one.
So Adam Thompson is going with the under on the Jags Colts, saying that if you're going to go with the line, the Colts, and you know what, Adam, and this is like the least scientific breakdown you ever hear. In an NFL game, when the line looks too good to be true, it almost always is. And that just looks like a come take me line for the Jaguars at 5.5. And like you said, not so fast. And so if you're going to, but the under, I think is probably as you said, that's your number one play there.
Well, we saw last night with the Chiefs, -4.5. You're thinking the Chiefs, the Lions have never been on this stage before. This seems like too bright. The bright lights are too bright for a team like this. We know Mahomes has been there. We knew Kelsey wasn't going to play, by the time kickoff came. But, and in theory, without Kadarius Toney, the Chiefs probably do win and cover. I'm salty on that one. My top play last night was the under. That hit. My top prop was MVS over on yards. That hit in the first half. But I also took the Chiefs -4.5, and Kadarius Toney cost me the sweep. Still a night in the black, but You always forget the ones you lose more than you remember the ones you win, right?
Yes, I was 3 or 4 in props on that game, and the one I lost was Tony. I had him. Oh my gosh, he's just dropping balls, handing them to the other team. I had
one
Montgomery.
catch.
Go
He
ahead.
had one catch for 1 year. He had more touchdowns for the other team than he did yards for his own team, or the same. He had one and one.
Horrible. I had David Montgomery over the rushing yardage. I had Josh Reynolds, and Josh Reynolds is like last year when they needed him, like he was a stretch of time when they needed him, like as an outside number one. He could do it with Goff, and he was over on the yardage. And of course, I'm going to forget the fourth one, but yeah, 3 out of 4, kind of like you. It was a good start to the season. Let's keep it rolling. All right, if you're enjoying the show, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. If you're on RotoWire YouTube, make sure you're following Adam at Bookies Adam. Make sure you go to bookies.com and bookmark that site and get back to it as often as possible. Next game we're talking about, got another divisional matchup here. A lot of these in week 1. We have the Bengals at the new look Browns. Browns bringing a new defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz. We love it that he can bring pressure without blitz, and he has personnel now. Dalvin Tomlinson, Ogbo Okoronkwo, Zadarius Smith to go with Myles Garrett. The corners don't cover song. But maybe it takes a little while for things to gel, Adam. But regardless of what you think on this, how are you handicapping the game between the Bengals and the Browns for week 1?
Yeah, I love the Browns here. I'm taking the points in the dog pound with that defense, and because of that defense, for the most part, they've always had Myles Garrett. He's right there with the Bosas as the most dominant frontline people in the league. You could argue he's number 1. The problem is he's always been kind of alone on that line. Not anymore. You named all the names worth naming that forces teams to not be able to double or triple team Myles Garrett on every play. So what a huge difference that's going to make. Schwartz in there is a huge difference as well. The Bengals line is mediocre. They're going to be celebrating Burrow being the highest paid player in the history of the league. But in the dog pound, what a spot to start. I think the X factor, obviously, for the Browns is Deshaun Watson. What is he going to look like? What's he going to show up? He showed it. He came in at the end of last season. They went 3-3. He was pretty average for him. But the last time he was a full season starter, he led the NFL in passing yards. Yeah. So which Deshaun Watson are we going to get? Are we going to get, how did he spend his offseason? I'm guessing he wasn't getting massages in the greater Cleveland area. Hopefully he was studying that playbook and getting mentally prepared as possible for this season, because there's a lot riding on him. There's a lot riding on this Browns team and the coaches. And I think they get it done. Nick Chubb is still back there. We don't want to forget about him. And I like the Bengals too. I just think in this position, nobody's seen this Browns defense. And on paper anyway, this is a top 5 defense in my estimation. In the dog pound, I think they get it done. I think they win the game, but I'm taking those points because, Joe Burrow heroics, notwithstanding, I don't want them. I don't want the Bengals to, kick a last-second field goal to win by 1 and 2. And I lose. So I'm taking the plus 2.5 on Cleveland.
Yeah, I love that call. Absolutely. Slightly off subject, Deshaun Watson. I'm just telling everybody out there my take on him for what you may be still drafting for fantasy. Former baseball player, played through college. And if I miss significant time, I noticed when I came back, reacclimating the speed of the game. Like 93, 95 mile hour pitches, they looked a lot faster when I came back from injury, extended layoff. But I really thought last year when I watched Watson on film that the 2 years almost away, he couldn't acclimate the speed. He was thinking on the field. You can't think. You basically got your read, you just react. And he made a comment early in camp, and it was, I'm not thinking anymore. And I knew at that point he re-got the speed of the game. So to me, like Adam said, this is a guy, like Adam said, led the league in passing yards. I think the speed of the game comes back. He's only 28 years old. You don't lose your talent in your 20s. He did a lot of garbage to cause himself trouble. But I do think we see close to what we saw with Deshaun Watson. If that's a bet you're willing to make outside of the great bet Adam told you, taking the points at the Browns, if you're still drafting, I still think Deshaun Watson, if you miss out on those first 8 quarterbacks, he's one that could help you. All right, we have another divisional matchup. Imagine that. This would be a fun weekend, Adam. So let's talk about Chicago and Green Bay. Man, Christian Watson missed practice on Thursday again. Dobbs seems maybe a little closer to me, but we don't even know. They both have hamstring issues. I think Dontari Wicks has a hamstring. He's their 5th receiver, but it's a mess there injury-wise. But that said, and the Bears have offensive line here. Tevin Jenkins isn't going to play. Nate Davis, we're not quite sure. He's another into their other guard. A lot of garbage going on. How do you handicap this game?
Yeah, it should be if not a red flag, at least a yellow flag that if you're banged up going into week one, that's probably not a good sign. Even the NFL, they reduce the preseason games. They give you an extra week between the last preseason game and the regular season, and you may not have either starting receiver if you're the Packers. You're decimated on the line already if you're the Bears. What a disaster this already is. But I lean towards the points with the Packers. Which is if Chicago loses this game and you're finally done with Brett Favre, you're finally done with Aaron Rodgers, 38 years of just getting hammered by your rival, and now Jordan Love comes in week one without his receivers in Soldier Field and wins. That's worth it right there just to root for Green Bay to win this game. Because and then find Chicago Talk Radio somewhere online and listen to it, because that'll be fantastic. But without Watson, without Dobbs, it's going to be a tough trek, obviously, for Jordan Love. You don't want to see any team not come in 100% for week one, but that running game is still top shelf. Jones and Dillon are still both extremely capable. That offensive line in front of him, top 10 in the league. That's going to help Love as well. The Bears front four is extremely not very good. Their linebacking crew is great. But I think Love is going to have some time. I think it's not going to be as far as a drop as some people are expecting. I watched a lot of Packer games last year, and Rodgers just very clearly did not want to be there. he did not get along with LaFleur, the coach, and it showed. And, he was missing wide open guys that he had never missed before. I expect Rodgers to have a huge season and bounce back in New York because he's motivated. He's got that chip on his shoulder. Last year, he had 1 foot out the door. So I don't think it's going to be as far a drop as some people think it might be. There's going to be some growing pains for Love, to be certain. I watched him in the preseason. It took him about a series or two. Those first two series, you watch him and you think, the Packers are in big trouble. And then by the end of the half, you think, wow, this Love guy is actually pretty good. The Packers offense ranked number 1 in efficiency in the preseason. I think they're going to be all right. Justin Fields, I'm not 100% ready to back him all the way. DJ Moore is a huge addition for them. That O-line still has a lot of questions. The running back situation still doesn't scare me if I'm a Green Bay defense. No. So I like Green Bay in week one. I'll take that 1.5 points. It's not a lot of points. But again, who knows what's going to happen, in week one. So I'll take all the points you can get me.
Adam, with the money line, is 1.5, would that 1.5 make it a breaking point, or do you shift to the money line? Does the 1.5 make that difference?
I actually did use the money line in a parlay because it's minus 105. Getting that 1.5 point, if you're at a sports book that's minus 115, maybe you look at that money line, then you're just straight going, because what are the odds that the Bears win by 1? That's right. Your insurance.
Exactly.
It's not overly high. I think this might be a lower scoring game, so maybe it's a 17-16, 23-21 type of game. I don't think either team is going off for 30 in week one here, especially if there's no receivers for Jordan Love to throw to. But yeah, either way, I like Green Bay to escape.
I was going to add a little bit to support Adam here. The Packers still have an excellent offensive line, a lot of continuity there. You mentioned the Bears defense, and you're right. They don't have anybody on the line. They brought in people, but they brought in linebackers. They're all new. This is like, there's only a few guys that are like veterans. They're working this new thing together. That takes time. Week one, I love to bet against teams that are trying to figure things out. And the Packers, like you said, offensively, with that running game, I think they have a massive advantage there. So that's just, another layer to the great analysis that you always give to that. But so Adam Thompson is telling you to take the Packers plus 1.5 against the Bears. You could consider the money line if the numbers are right and you prefer to go that route. Let's do one more. I don't want to keep you too long, Adam. So another divisional matchup. It's been a trend here today. So Rams will not have Cooper Kupp. The Rams do get their offensive line back healthy, which was decimated last year. The Seahawks bring back a lot of continuity on offense, and they add a couple new toys. And it looks like JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba, may play. He's practicing. How do you handicap the Rams at the Seahawks? 5.5 should still be the line on that one.
Yeah, and the Rams, their offense, it wasn't looking good with Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp might be the most dominant receiver in the league, at least west of Minnesota. But now he's gone. Now what? Gerald Everett? Take every over you can find on Gerald Everett? Is that the plan now for the Rams? Because Cam Akers.
Tyler Higbee, right? You mean Tyler Higbee.
Higbee, not Everett. Everett's the Charger. On Higbee. But other than that, I mean, what do you do if you're Stafford? The offensive line is still, there's still question marks there. I don't know if Seattle is really capable of really getting after a quarterback too much. That linebacking crew is great. But I think, the Rams were not very good offensively on the road last year anyway. This is going to really hurt. If Cooper Kupp's not out there, and poor old Matt Stafford might wish he's retired by halftime. It's going to be a frustrating game for them. On the flip side, Seattle should have a lot of confidence the way last season went with Geno Smith. He's in. He's got a new contract. The receivers look to be full strength. That running back core looks good. Their O-line's, just average. But there's so many skill weapons out there. All you have to do is get past the front four of the Rams, and it's open season on that defense. I think the linebacking crew and the defensive back crew, you put them together, that might be the worst overall unit in the league. So what a horrible matchup for the Rams that you have, some of the top wide receiving core, one of the top 5 probably in the NFL. Running backs you still have to worry about. I think Seahawks, and in Seattle. So put that all together, and you're looking at 31-10, something like that. I think this one could get ugly. So -5.5, I think that's fine. I see at least a touchdown. Anything under -7, I think is a great play for Seattle.
You mentioned Aaron Donald, and really the rest of that defensive line is terrible. Leonard Floyd's gone. They have nobody. And
speaking of wishing he would have retired, Aaron Donald nearly retired.
Yes.
And then he's like, I'll come back. And I that shows me that his heart may not be 100%. And now he's going to get minimum double teamed every play because there's nobody else to stop. So it's I feel kind of bad, but not bad this week. Let's see him get double and triple teamed every play this week.
And actually, I also think he's going to be lonely this year because teams want to run the ball. Well, guess what? All right, Aaron Donald's there. We're running away from him. Why would they even bother running to his side?
Right.
When they want to run, we could attack everybody else, not Aaron Donald.
And at least last year, you had Donald there, you had Wagner. You had Jalen Ramsey. So you had a star veteran at each level. Now you just have Donald showing up in the locker room and looking around and just probably being like, oh, here we go. So I think it's going to waterfall, early. As long as Seattle gets off to a good start, I think they're just going to roll after that.
So my job is usually have a guest on for 15 minutes. If you want to do another game, you can. If we got to sign off, we can sign off. It's completely up to you.
Hey, I got nowhere to be, man. This is
all right.
This is where I want to be. No, okay.
Let's do one more game.
Okay.
All right. You pick Cowboys Giants or Bucks Vikings. Which one do you want to go with?
Cowboys Giants Sunday Night Football is a good way to end it. I love Dallas. I think they're a top 5 team, if not a top 3 team in the league. Unfortunately for them, I think the Eagles are the top 1 team in the NFL. I think they're poised to do everything they want to do this year. But the Cowboys are right there. I think the defense got better. Stephon Gilmore, adding him, as long as he stays healthy, what a find that was. And you have 2 of the top edge rushers in the league on each side. That's not going to be easy for the Giants. Daniel Jones has struggled historically against Dallas. The last 2 seasons combined, he's thrown 1 touchdown, and they've lost every game that he's played. So that's not a good matchup, and you need him to do well. Dak Prescott, it's a make or break season for Dak and for Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy's taken over the play calling duties. I think that's going to help Dak. It can't hurt him. He led the league in picks last year, despite missing several games. So I think that'll help him. I'm excited for Pollard to finally get his opportunity and be the guy. We'll see if he holds up. Hopefully he does, but I think they have enough weapons. I think Brandon Cooks is a great weapon too. I expect Dallas to be one of those teams at the end that's vying for hardware. And I think the Giants are going to regress a little bit. I think the receiving core is just kind of okay.
Mhm.
Saquon Barkley, when he's healthy, he's awesome. Will he be healthy? Who knows? But I think you can key on stopping the run if you're Dallas, and you have those weapons that allow you to do that, especially with two corners that could play pretty modestly average Giants receivers. So Dallas have a lot of good matchups in this game. Minus 3 points is all they're laying. It's going from 3 to 3.5. If you want to find 3, go to bookies.com. Bookies.com. If you go to bookies.com/NFL/odds, it'll show you the best odds for every team, where to get them. And that helps for games exactly like this, because it is minus 3.5 at some spots. It is minus 3 at others. That's obviously a huge number in the sports betting world. I love him at minus 3.
A couple other points. Dallas, you point out, Stephon Gilmore, a huge head. Jordan Lewis, underreported, back from an injury. He is a very good slot corner. They have depth at safety. They're very good. They're going to be a nightmare for teams. But when we talk about the Giants, Brian Daboll's an excellent coach. I believe he used a lot of smoke and mirrors to get by, and it started getting caught up to him, especially when they played a good defense. Remember the Eagles in the playoffs? Well, it was the Eagles, but regardless, you couldn't smoke and mirror the Eagles. And I think with all that Daboll pulled out of the bag last year to make it work, I think all those tricks are on film. Dallas played him twice. I don't think there's another bag of tricks out there. I think Daniel Jones gets exposed against good defenses. And like Adam Thompson said, the Cowboys at minus 3 are going to show that to you in week 1. There's one question about this game I'd like to see if you can answer. Sauger is asking, Tony Pollard has a rushing prop of 68.5 yards. Adam, how are you leaning on that one?
I like it. I expect Dallas to kind of get off to a lead. I think McCarthy likes to run the ball, sometimes too much. But Pollard, I think he's ready to kind of show that, he kind of was the quasi lead back, at least the 1-2. He's earned this opportunity. I think he's going to make the most of it.
Yeah, this is a very fine matchup for him. And if Dallas, as Adam predicts, plays with a lead, that means McCarthy will run in the second half. And remember the playoff game when Green Bay played Seattle? Green Bay was up with like 20 points, and then McCarthy ran so much that Green Bay lost the game. Oh, but they're going to run. And the Dallas Cowboys are going to cover. Oh, my gosh.
Exactly.
Adam,
exactly. Take it all.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's all yours. I'd love to thank you for coming in, Adam. Adam is going to be in every Friday breaking down games for your gambling winning bets. You find him at Bookies Adam. Make sure you go to bookies.com, bookmark it, go back to there regularly. Again, you follow Adam at Bookies Adam. You follow me at Jim Coventry NFL. I'll be back on Saturday with John Ryan of RotoWire. Thanks, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.